Good afternoon. It's actually afternoon here. Welcome to another Facebook, Instagram, DTF Superstore live stream. Y'all are already getting your questions in the chat, so thank you for doing that. Today we are kind of doing Ask Me Anything. I do have a couple questions I'm going to cover that have popped up on our YouTube channel, and they're kind of centering around halftones mostly because that's like our most popular video and people always have questions about it. So we'll get into that. I'm also going to answer your questions. The chat is already blowing up on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So do me a favor. Let me know where you're watching from. Are you watching from Kentucky? Are you watching from Arizona in my backyard? Let me know where you guys are watching from. And I tell you what, I realized that the rest of y'all changed your time like 2 weeks ago since the last live stream. So it's actually 12 o'clock here. And I was dancing around with like, should I eat lunch before I do the live stream? After? Live streams are always an hour long. I would put my lunch at 1 o'clock. Craziness. We got somebody watching from Bahrain. Love that F1 race. I'm a big Formula One fan. I think I've talked about it here before, but the Bahrain Grand Prix is always fantastic. All right. So yeah, let me know where you guys are watching from. We got lots of questions coming in. Ooh, we got Texas in the house. How's it going? Another Texas, watch from Houston. Karen was the first one to get a question, so hers will get answered first once I cover a couple other things. But yeah, so glad you guys are here. Holy cow, we got 2 a.m. in Vietnam. You know, that was my great question. Like as I was debating about what time to do this, because I changed, the rest of America changes time. Does the rest of the world use daylight savings time, or is that just a weird American thing? Let me know in the chat. Is daylight savings time just a weird, let me rephrase that, a weird America thing other than Arizona? Because Arizona does not observe daylight savings time. Unless you live on the Navajo Indian Reservation, then they do. So it's very confusing when you're driving toward the Grand Canyon and your phone keeps jumping time zones. It's crazy. Anyway, I think you're the first person watching from Vietnam. So thank you. Thank you for watching at 2 a.m. Good Lord. Madagascar? I think that's got to be a first as well. So first time for Madagascar. That is fantastic. So if it's 2 a.m. in Vietnam, it's probably like 6 or 7 would be my guess in Madagascar a.m. And we got Richmond, California. Excellent. All right. So let's jump into the first question. You know what? We're gonna do Karen's along with the rest of it. So Karen said, is there a way to halftone any image, the whole image, all the colors to place on any color? Yes, there is a way to halftone onto any color shirt. Obviously, when, and I mention this when I do my talks, but the halftone is really technically a halftone color knockout because we're getting rid of a color, we're getting rid of some of the ink, and we're using the shirt's color to show through and halftone that. So let's do that workflow. We got a video on it, but I'm going to do it live right here, and you guys can ask questions if you have them. Let's see. There we go. And let's jump over to Photoshop, and let's pick an image that we can halftone. You know what? Let's have some fun. Nope, that's not going to work. Because you want it on not black shirt. So let's do it something else. Let's see. Let me think if I've got, I know I've got the alligator image. I use it all the time. I'm just going to use that because I know that it works well, and I'm not gonna mess up the workflow. So let's do that. Let's see. Where'd my alligator go? Or if you guys have an image you want me to try messing with, let me know, because I'll even try that. You guys can send me something and I'll give it a shot. All right, Photoshop. Here we go. All right, got the lovely alligator on the green. It's gonna be on a green shirt. regardless of what the shirt color is, it doesn't really matter. You want to just make sure the background color is the color of the shirt. So basically what you're going to do, oops, sorry about that, jumped a little bit. So here's the steps, and these first 2 steps or 3 steps are how you address it being on any color shirt. The rest of the steps are kind of a normal half toning workflow. So the first thing I'm going to do is unlock this layer, and we're going to duplicate it, because what we're going to do to it is destructive. And anytime you're doing something destructive to the workflow, you want to make sure you save a layer just so you don't screw it up. Okay. Sorry about that. So if you don't have a background, like if it's a backgroundless PNG, you do need to put the background that is the color of the shirt. But then we're going to create a new layer, and we're going to hit Shift Delete and bring my window over here. There you go. And this is just going to fill the background with, or fill that layer with a specific color. In this case, we want it to be this green color. Okay. And then this is the magic step that we figured out that makes this work for doing it on any color. Because initially we like tried these weird workflows, but it is using the blending options, blending mode, and creating it to difference. And what that does is that turns the green black. And in a halftone workflow, you have to be working from grayscale. And the way that it works is black is totally opaque, white is fully transparent, any amount of gray in the middle is halftone. So this is the first step we have to do, is create this layer that has the green now black. Now we can do the rest of the normal halftone workflow. So we're going to duplicate the layer, and what always happens is it opens up on my other monitor. I've got 2 monitors here. I've got one down here, like kind of on my desk. That's where I edit everything from. But we're going to do a new document. So we're going to not duplicate it in this doc. So it's going to create a new document. You can name it. I'm a monster, so I just keep calling it Untitled and move on with my life. So then you're going to go to Image, Mode, Grayscale, because again, halftone only works in grayscale. And then we're going to go to Image Adjust Levels. Now, I'm going to show you guys something. I had somebody ask a question on YouTube. Let me pull it up real quick so I can read it to you guys. So this is the question. I did everything right, and when I print, when the print came out, it's light and lost its color. So most likely what happened in that situation is they didn't do this levels adjustment, because if you don't do this level adjustment, see how much of this thing is gray? All of that's going to be halftone. And so it's going to lose its vibrancy. So what we want to do, and this is the piece that we added to the halftone workflow that's existed out there, is we want to bring this way down, because we want a lot of it to not be half-toned at all. We want it to be just full, bright, vibrant color. So we're going to basically bring it down to where it starts to blow out the image. And then we're going to bring the black up slightly to kind of do a full knockout of some stuff like in here in these areas. And this is the step that is different for every image. So just be aware of that. And then click OK. And now we're going to go to Image Mode Bitmap. And this is what's going to actually create our halftone screen. So again, window up there. 300 DPI, that's what the resolution of the file is. And 300 DPI is what you want to use for any DTF printing. Don't use anything other than 300 DPI. And then this is the other question that came up. It comes up on a regular basis, but it came up recently on YouTube. It says, what if I have a large image? What would you use the frequency? Is there an equation how you figure the frequency out? So, little tip, frequency has nothing to do with the size of the image. Frequency has everything to do with the resolution. And I'm going to see if I can pull up. Give me 1 second. I'm going to see if I can pull up. I've got some images that show the frequency differences. So let me pull that up real quick. There it is. Nope, that's not it. Halftone. I know I've got a file in here. There we go. I'm like, it's here somewhere. Okay. All right, I'm going to load up a different version of Photoshop to show you guys this. So this, bring it down here. So this is a frequency of 10, okay? Close this so I can see better. This is a frequency of 10, 20, 30, 35, 40, 50, and 60. So what you guys are seeing here is this is an exact, like this is just a straight gradient from 100% black to 100% white. And this is what a halftone does. You can see the dots start out kind of small and get bigger until they're equal size. And then the white gets smaller and the black gets bigger. So that's kind of how a gradient works with halftones. And that's how we're creating these gradient fades. The frequency has everything to do with the resolution of the image, not the image's size. So even if you do a small little pocket logo, you're still going to use a frequency of between 30 and 40. And I know that number because we did a lot of tests with it, with printing at those different frequencies. I also learned, because I've talked to some screen printers now, 35 is a pretty standard frequency for screen printing, as is the angle of 22.5. So you're using 30 to 40. And the reason you want to use maybe 30 is if you want a little more openness and it's kind of a chunky image. If there's like really fine details, you want to use more like 40. But the frequency doesn't matter. You can do a giant shirt, 13 by 16, and you're still going to use a frequency of between 30 and 40. All right, so let's click OK. There we go. We got our halftone screens. Command or Control A to select everything. Command or Control C to copy it. Go back to the original one. We're going to hide this ugly black layer. And then we're going to add the layer mask. Hold down Option or Alt and click on it. And paste our screen. And there we go. So that, and literally this works on any color shirt. We've done it on purple shirts, pink shirts, blue shirts. You want to just use the color that is closest to the shirt color. So obviously if you have like a deep royal blue or something like that, if you're just close to that blue, it's going to work okay. If it's a red, it just needs to be close to that red. Maybe I wouldn't do it with a maroon or something like that, but it should work pretty well. So yeah, by far the halftone is what we get the most questions on, just because it is a technique that is, well, in screen printing, it's familiar, but the difference is in screen printing, you're halftoning with just one color, because in screen printing, you separate your image out and you're just halftoning one color as it fades. Whereas what we're doing is a full process color, like full color halftoning, and so it behaves a little differently. So yeah, that's by far the stuff we get the most questions on. All right, let's see. Let's start going through these questions. If you have more questions, definitely get them in the chat. All right. Hi, I really like your video. I want to ask if the stickiness of the small dot DTF is high after many washes. So I'm assuming you're talking about like the fine details on like a half-toned shirt. The really small dots, when you create it, like I'll pop back into this. So in the case of like these little dots here, let me move so you can see better. So like these little dots here, that are literally just a few pixels. Those might not stick, and you might lose those when you start washing, but it's not enough to lose the effect. And so when we did all of our tests and tested the size, the frequency, that was a big factor. So if you go too high of a number, so if you went to like 50 on the frequency, it would make the dots so small, a lot of them wouldn't stick. So you will lose some. You will lose some when you peel it. You'll see it leave some dots back on the film, but it's not enough to lose the effect of the print, if that makes sense. It still tracks. It still looks good and accurate. I'm trying to think if I have one up on my wall. There's a skull. Let's see. I'm gonna try something, y'all. If this doesn't work right, then sorry, my bad. Okay, so there's a skull up there. Let's see if it'll zoom in. Let's see. All right, let's see. Okay, so that's hard to see. It's too far away, but that particular one is fully half-toned. And so because it's got this such a smooth gradient on it, let's see. Because it's got such a smooth gradient on it, when a few of the dots don't stick, it kind of loses the effect a little bit. So, oh, geez, Louise. Sorry about that, guys. Gave y'all motion sickness. That if it's too consistent, you will lose some kind of it'll lose the effect a little bit. So you just want to make sure that you're testing out if you're going to try to change some of the standard parameters. So, all right. NorCal Embroidery says, I have a room that's 13 by 13. Is that enough for the Roadrunner forehead? Not quite. I want to say you need like 15 to have enough room for the dryer shaker and the printer. You can talk to Moses, our sales guy. If you call into the office, 602 609 5590. Do I have the number on here? I don't. Reach out, Moses at DTF Superstore. So this, but just Moses at the beginning of it. He'll know for sure exactly. I think that 13 by 13 is going to be a little bit tight for the length of everything, because you need room to get behind the printer to load the film. You need room at the front of the dryer. So I think it's going to be a little tight. I think you really need more like 15. I tell you what, though, I love the friggin' Roadrunner. I thought I brought my shirt back. That super bright color one that you guys saw. I don't know if you guys saw it on Facebook, but yeah, I'm pretty stoked with what we're getting out of the Roadrunner. And then the Coyote guy, that thing's just fast. And you need way more than 13 by 13 if you want to do the Coyote. That thing's blazingly fast and humongous. All right. That's totally, you actually can. So in a high quality print mode, so like let's say you were trying to do that bold, bright color stuff that I was doing. Yeah, you're easily going to print a roll a day. You might even get like a roll and a half. I recently did a big test run. If you don't know, we have an uptime guarantee at DTF Superstore. So if you buy a printer from us and it's down for service and you have some prints that need to happen, we do print those for you in-house, and we just charge you basically cost just for the material and shipping. But so we had a customer whose machine was down, and I printed personally 2,000 transfers on the Roadrunner. It took me about 2 days, 2 full 8-hour days. And it was 3.5 rolls of film, somewhere in that ballpark. So depending on the print mode you're using, yeah, a roll of film, totally average for a day. And that's even using our high quality print mode. If you use the kind of production quality, that'll be a little bit faster. So when I'm upscaling when you're upscaling, 300 DPI is what you want. Okay. So, sorry, I had to process it. So upscaling the image. So that 1024 by 1024 is just the resolution. That's not the size of it. Like that's the number of pixels. So at 300 DPI, a 1024 by 1024 image is only about 3 1/3 inches by 3 1/3 inches. It depends on what you're wanting to upscale. If you're wanting to upscale a graphic like a logo or something like that, then you can use Vectorizer.ai. If you're doing more of like a photo, you want to use Photoshop. So let me show you how to do that. So first, let's go to Photoshop. And this is not a good example because it is already a big size. Don't save. Don't save. Oh, I know a good file. Let's go with Bootcamp class files. Let's go with this adorable little guy right here. Okay, perfect. So let's zoom in on this a little bit. So that is 100%. This is a pretty small image. Let's see exactly how big it is. So we're going to image size, and gotta love weird web images, right? So let's make this 300 DPI first, just to find out what we're working with. Okay, so we're working with an image that is 300 by 500 pixels, which in inches equates to 1 inch. Now, we can resize in here to a degree. This is kind of a graphic, it will work fine, but if it's a photo, you can really you don't want to do more than 2 times in this window. 3 times, you're going to start seeing some weird artifacts. So let's actually do that. Let's make this 3 times as big. So let's make it 3 inches. Well, this one looks okay because it's a graphic, it's not a photo. But what you'll see is there'll be these weird halos that kind of show up. Let's actually go a little bigger. Let's go 5. So we're doing 5 times. See how there's like a little like kind of shadowy area here in the edge? And that's just because the system's trying to put information in there that it doesn't have necessarily. So on a photo, if you do more than like 2 times in this window, it's going to struggle. It's not going to look great. So if you want to do a photo in Photoshop, if you go to Filter, Neural Filters, and if you've paid for Adobe subscription, you will have access to these tools. And I'm sure that Affinity and Corel all have similar things, but it's called Super Zoom. And this is going to allow you to do more than 2 or 3 times. It's got JPEG artifact removal. It's got some different things for noise reduction to clean up some of that stuff that you were seeing in the other image. So if you are just going double the size, so just 2 times, just use the image size adjustment setting in Photoshop. If you're going more than 2 times on a photo, use the Neural Filter Super Zoom. If you are taking this cute little guy and it is a vector, this is like a graphic file, you can use vectorizer.ai. And that, I'm going to open up right here. Vectorizer.ai. This is my favorite tool, like literally my favorite tool ever. And we're going to grab this little guy, drop him in here. 2 seconds, and it's vectorized. And now I can infinitely scale this sucker. See that? Oh, I love this thing. Vectorizer.ai is freaking amazing. So, resizing just by 2 times. So if it's a 500 pixel image and you're going to 1,000 pixels, it's fine to just use the standard image resizer or the image size option in Photoshop. If you want to go bigger than that on a photograph, use the Neural Filters Super Zoom. And then if it's graphic file, use vectorizer.ai. Vectorizer.ai does an amazing job on like logos and stuff like that. So I hope that answers the question. How to make the colors more saturated and vibrant, because after half toning, it loses a lot of saturation. So that I mentioned before, adjusting the levels. Let me show you guys actually what we're talking about. So if I were to take, let me take, let's do it with this. Oh, okay. Let's just pretend we're breaking all copyright laws and we're gonna make a cool John Wick t-shirt, right? And when you would go to halftone this, you'd be halftoning it like, say, a black shirt. So let's do that real quick. I've done the steps before, so I'm just going to quickly go through it. But when you lose that vibrancy, it's probably because you're halftoning too much of the image. So I'm going to duplicate into a new document. Then I go to image, image mode grayscale. And then what you've probably done is just gone image mode bitmap, or you've not adjusted your levels enough. So let me show you guys what happens. And Jeremy did not make sure it was 300 DPI before he started. So ignore this step. I know how to make it work pretty close to the same. 72, so a third, so 10. Is that gonna screw it up? Perfect. Okay. Command A, Command C. Let's go back. Create a layer mask. Hold down Option or Alt. Paste it. And there you go. Let's put a black background behind it just so we can see what it looks like. Okay, see how it's like not as vibrant? So like original, half-toned. And that's because it half-toned everything. And so our workflow where we use that, now I gotta be honest, the John Wick title looks pretty friggin' sick. But what happens is when you don't do that levels adjustment, you lose a lot of the vibrancy and the color. It's not as like, look at this, it looks almost kind of grayish, where that's like a nice vibrant blue. So you want to use the levels adjustment to make it pop more, and then just do the halftones on those fade areas and where it's changing from the lighter color to the darker color. So let me back up a couple steps on this. Okay. So you need to go to image adjust levels. So after you go to grayscale, image adjust levels, and you want to bring your black up a little bit to make sure it does a good full knockout on it. Come on, there we go. Make sure it knocks out some of that stuff. And then you want to bring that white down because you don't want to halftone everything on here. You just want to halftone kind of the lighter areas. And you can play with this. And like I said, every image is going to be different. Do you remember the last image I did? All the arrows were way down here, and here the triangles are kind of like in the middle. But let's try somewhere in that range, because I want his jacket to still be kind of halftone, so it's still kind of there. Let's see how this works. Image mode, or image, yeah, mode bitmap. And by the way, again, ignore the frequency I'm using right now. I forgot to change the resolution to be 300 DPI. So the frequency is going to be wrong from everything else I tell you. Okay, let's paste this new one in. Oop, did I not copy? A. There we go. All right, and paste. There we go. So now we lose some vibrancy in some of those fade areas, and that's again where we would tweak with those levels adjustments a little bit. But now it's not nearly as faded out. And that obviously is an image with just blue in it. If you had an image that had like a lot of other colors, you would see that happen. Now, if you want to use the traditional halftoning stylized look, again, our workflow is a halftone color knockout where we want it to look as closely original. But if you want to do a stylized look to it, then you can totally do that and then just boost your saturation. So just if you've done, let me go back to the original one. There we go. If you wanted to make it look a little brighter, more vibrant, you can just click on the layer and go to image adjustments, hue and saturation, and you could boost your saturation a little bit. You could do that to get more color out of it, but it runs the risk, especially if it's a multicolor design, you run the risk of it screwing up some other colors. So I wouldn't recommend it, but there's definitely some ways to play with it. And you can get a good, nice stylized look using halftones as a style. So I hope that answers your question. All right, let's see. What else do we got? Since we're on the topic of halftones, so you have to do a different halftone for each color shirt. Yes. You cannot use one image, halftone it on a black, a green, a red shirt. you have to take into account what that shirt color is. And that's why I say you really should think of it as a color knockout. And when you're thinking about a color knockout, you're thinking, what color is the shirt? And can I take a similar color to that shirt out of the image? So yes, you have to do it for each individual color shirt. And also each individual size. So if you're doing like one that's a big chest logo on like a XXL, and you want to do one on like on a small adult shirt, you're going to have halftone those at different sizes, because if you try to shrink it, it's going to create a whole bunch of semi-transparent pixels. And also it's going to push some of the single pixels off to being nothing. So you really, when you halftone an image, you need to do it in the right size, the size you're going to print it, the resolution you're going to print it, on the color you're going to print it. So it's definitely a lot of work, but you can get some really killer results and print something that normally would just not look good. You can get it to print well. Actually, let me show you guys. Give me 1 second. I'll show you guys a shirt that I did. Let me find it in here. I have all of my demos in one place now because I'm trying to keep track of them all. Okay. There it is. Okay. So, and I'm back. So if somebody came to you and they're a big like House of Dragons fan, this is obviously not that. I had AI generate this, but that's nasty. That feels horrible. It looks like crap because it's just a big old JPEG. So this would be like really difficult to print. So because I can use a halftone black color knockout, I get a shirt that is way softer. Actually looks better in my opinion, but a shirt that is way softer, still vibrant. So this is really the purpose of the halftone color knockout, is to make something that isn't easily printable. So I hope that answers that question. Hello, honey. Sometimes my wife trolls y'all, so just be careful. See her posting weird comments about me. Don't believe what she says. It's probably true, but whatever. Thank you for watching, honey. I appreciate you. All right. Can I make an IC profile, I1 profile, and import it to CADLink to get better colors? Whoo! Yes, you can. It is a pain in the rear end. So I'm gonna scan. To answer your question, I'm gonna show you in CADLink because I got it over here. Sometimes I try to have as many of the options as I think are going to come up ready. But let me scan through the rest of the questions and make sure there's no other halftone stuff, because I don't want to jump off and back on the halftone stuff. There it goes. I thought I turned off that function. Anyway, can halftones be done in other software? Do we have to use Photoshop? So we have a couple videos on our YouTube channel. One that does it in Photopea. It's not quite as good, but then also one that does it in Affinity Designer and in Corel Draw. Again, it's not quite exactly the same thing, but you can accomplish it. So go check out those videos over on the website. Moses is a great guy. Yes, indeed he is. Okay, let me make sure there's no other halftone ones, and then we'll get back to it. Yes, looks fantastic. So the only difference when you're doing on a white shirt, you can either use the difference setting that we did for the any color shirt, or you just literally invert the when you get to the levels adjustment, like when you go to grayscale, invert it, and that'll work for a white shirt. So when you go to image mode grayscale, or if it's a black and white image, you might already be in grayscale, but just invert it and then do it from there. Because when you do when you do the layer or the levels, if you're doing white, if you're knocking out white, when you go to duplicate the layer and you go grayscale, then invert it. That way the white becomes black, and that's what's being knocked out, because black is being removed, white is showing through. I hope that makes sense. Kevin, what's happening? Kevin's one of our techs. Love that guy. He's awesome. Okay, let's see. I'm just making sure I've got all the halftone stuff, and then we're gonna get back to that ICC question because I know how to do it, and I will show you guys. Like I said, my wife is trolling me. I think you need a thinking bubble over your head when you're processing your calculator with some music. I'll work on that. Next live stream, guys. Next live stream, we're going to have a thinking. Blues Clues have a thinking chair. Okay, this question. Can I make an ICC profile in i1 Profiler and import it into CADLink? So i1 Profiler is for when you have an X-Rite i1 scanner. I have the i1 Pro 3 Plus. And we've talked about it in another video, but I'll put a link to a couple different spectrophotometers. But this one allows you to use the i1 Profiler software in Digital Factory. So if you have Digital Factory and you're wanting, and you also have an i1 Profiler, this is what you do in Digital Factory to make that work. So let me pop over here to Digital Factory, basically what you're going to do, remove. First step is, oh, actually I can do it on here. Here we go. i1 Profiler. Okay. Give me a second to load that up. I'm going to try using my mouse and see if that'll work well. Okay. All right. So in i1 Profiler, what you can do, and I've actually found that I like the linearization it creates. So you're going to basically, you're going to create a linearization chart. I believe I did 481 patches. A little bit overkill, but what I found, whoops, wrong keyboard. And then I'm going to go next. And then this is going to create the swatches that I will scan. And for me, when I'm printing on our, hold on one second. I'm not seeing that properly. Oh, it's not working right because I don't have the X-Rite plugged into it. So you basically create this linearization chart. This is your first step. So your first step is create this linearization chart. You're going to, and the Super B, right? Yeah, the Super B size, this one is 13 by 19, which it creates, here it is. I try to keep everything I got. It creates a swatch chart that's like this size. Pop back over this. A swatch chart this size. Obviously, because it's linearization, it only has cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And then what you do is you will, instead of printing this, you will click Save As. It will save it as a TIFF file. And then you want to go into Digital Factory. And I would use a profile you're comfortable with, and you're just trying to make the ICC better. So whatever profile you're working with, it's fine. You want to add that TIFF in. So like, actually, I think I have it on my desktop here, because this is the computer I use for all of my profiling. Yep, there it is. Sorry about that. My camera just freaked out on me. Uno momento. Okay, so it's going to load it in. It's taking a hot second. There it goes. But what I want to do to make sure that Digital Factory doesn't put anything over the top of it, doesn't put any ICC profiles of its own, I am going to go to the properties. So let me back up real quick and show you how I got there. So if I double click on this, it'll let me change the properties for this particular file. And I want to go to ICC profile, and I want to uncheck these 4 boxes. Don't worry about unchecking this. It's okay. Like literally, and I tested it. I tested unchecking that and it did something weird. So I know that unchecking these 4 is all you need to do. Click OK, then print this file. Then you're going to use the X-Rite to scan that data in. Once that's scanned in, let's go back to the home. You're going to go to the profiling option, and you can choose how many swatches you want to scan. It will take a while, but anything over 2,000 is going to be a really robust ICC profile. Anything closer to 4,000 is going to be really strong. So for all of our machines that I've profiled, I'm doing 3,888 patches. You might be like, Jeremy, that's a weird number. But guess what? It creates 8 sheets of these, which fit perfectly on the press, perfectly on a shirt, and makes it real easy for me to scan them all. So that's why I did 3,888. Fix my camera so I'm not leaning over anymore. Okay, so back to this. So you're going to make however many swatches you want, and then you're going to put in the linearization that you scanned. So we're kind of ignoring the linearization in Digital Factory because it really, I felt I got better results by doing it this way. So I load in my linearization. It will change kind of the colors and the way they look. And then I'm going to go next. I'm going to set my page size. In the case of, like I said, I did the Super B, and I know, again, it's not behaving right because I'm not plugged in, but I know I created these charts. Same thing. Again, I'm going to save them as a TIFF file. And then you can also save it as an EPS as well, but it was behaving weird. So TIFF files seem to work the best. And then I'm going to go into Digital Factory. I am going to add that set of patches. So here we go. You can see I've got all these going on here. So I'm going to select all those patches I saved, open them up, and then it seems tedious, but it is important that you don't assume that some settings got saved on it. So I want you to double click on each one of these and verify that the ICC profile has these 4 boxes unchecked. Do that for each one of these, print them out, scan them in with the X-Rite i1 profiler, and then it's going to create an ICC profile. And then what you do to load that in is you go to Devices, Manage Print Modes. You're going to create your new print mode. So let's say I'm using this one. I'm going to copy it. My super, whoops, I keep using the wrong keyboard. My super special ICC, because I'm better than Jeremy. Cool. So now you've saved that. Okay. There you go. Double click on it. Go to ICC profile. Click on this. Select from printer profiles. This is going to kind of be some default ones. What I would encourage you to do, because when you save it from the i1 profiler, you can save it to a specific folder. That's what I encourage you to do. If you just save it to like your desktop, then if you ever move to like a different computer, it might not translate with it. So I would encourage you to basically select that one. And then in this case, I think I left it in downloads because I'm a monster. Let me find it. So we'll pretend, here it is. Let's just pretend this is it. So see how it says ICC profile? Just double click on it. Now it's going to apply that ICC profile. And then on this up here, you want to use sRGB ISO coded. Click save. And there you are. And actually, this the test print I did on that. And you know what? No, it looks like garbage because I got all these weird lights. I make it look good so I look good, not so that the prints look good, whatever. Anyway, you can print a test image and just verify that it looks right. So I hope that makes sense. Probably need to do a video about that. Probably should do that. I'll put it on my list because I have so much spare time, right? Right? Am I right? Okay. Raja, if I did not completely answer your question, follow up questions down below, but I hope that answered your questions. All right, let's see. Here we go. Boy, you guys have got some good questions there and stuff I'm working on. I'm considering getting into a full-time DTF machine. Do you think a 9-color machine is a necessity? I'm more interested in quality than absolute speed. So 9-color machines are not necessarily faster. In most cases, they're slower. We're working on a 9-color machine. Can I say it? Yeah, we're working on it. I literally was working on it end of last week, beginning of this week. But it's a 6-head, but because we're doing 9 colors in it, it's 2 heads of CMYK, 2 heads of red, green, blue, and orange, and then 2 heads of white. So it's not actually any faster. Is 9-color a necessity? It depends. And I know y'all love it depends answers. The reason I say that is because if you're trying to hit some Pantones that are troublesome with CMYK, you probably will benefit from the additional colors. The additional colors should give us a lot more vibrancy. I've seen some folks that are doing it and they are getting a lot more vibrant colors. But if you guys saw my video the other day, I can get some pretty ridiculous colors out of like the 4-head Roadrunner using a little ICC profile hack that I discovered when I was playing with another printer, and it actually worked as I translated across. I think if it's your first time getting into a full-time machine, I would probably stick with something that's CMYK. Just it's a little more tried and true and a little less. It's like when you add more heads. Like if you add 2 heads and you go to a 4-head machine, it's more than double more complicated, if that makes sense. And we go to 6-head machine, it's even more complicated than that. So I would not suggest, if you don't already do DTF or don't already have a printer, I'd probably not suggest jumping into a 9-color right from the get-go, because you can get some really amazing colors out of a CMYK printer. But you will have more, it will be able to produce more colors. That's why we're pursuing being able to do some extended color gamut stuff. So I hope that answers your question. The Roadrunner or if it's your first time, and if you're not selling transfers, like if you're selling transfers, you need to do at least the Roadrunner. If not the Coyote, if you're selling a ton of transfers. But if it's your first time, you're not producing, maybe you will sell some transfers. That's fine. You can do that with the Mongoose. But if you're not like churning out stuff every day, the other person that asked earlier about the Roadrunner, you can do about a roll and a half or so of film a day, maybe 2 rolls of film out of it. I'm not sure. We haven't tracked that exact metric. But if you're getting started and you're just making stuff for yourself, the Mongoose is a perfectly good machine, and we can get similar quality results and stuff like that. It's just a little bit slower than the Roadrunner. I hope that answers the question. All right, let's see. What else do we got? There's a lot more questions, so I'm getting to them. Yes, all of the live streams are on our YouTube channel. So if you go to our YouTube channel, you click, there'll be videos, shorts, and then live. Click on live. All of these live streams are back. We'll always post right after, like literally as soon as we're done here, you can go back and watch it. I usually try to, about a day or so later, I try to cut off the intro so you guys don't have to watch that countdown. Okay, I'm having banding issues. My nozzles are clean. I think it's air bubbles in the ink. Okay, so my first question on banding issues is your print environment between 40 and 60% humidity and between 70 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 21 to 25 degrees Celsius? If your environment's not in those ranges, you're going to have some banding. That's the most common cause of banding. The next common cause of banding is, and maybe where it like starts printing okay, and then after a while it starts to not print as good. In those ink lines, you can get air bubbles that'll kind of eventually kind of coalesce with each other. You know, like when you look at air bubbles or even like raindrops going down a window, you see it start as one and it grabs another one, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Same thing with the bubbles, and you can get almost a bubble dam where it will let a little bit of ink around the sides of it, but it won't flow as fast as like the print head needs. So one thing you can do is just check your ink lines and see if there's any air in them. But yeah, if your nozzles are clean, it's most like an ink flow issue. Also check and see how full your dampers are. I don't have any dampers in here. I should have dampers in here. I have a print head in here. Your damper, so it's like a little circle. You want it at least halfway full of ink. If your damper, little circle at the bottom of it, is not halfway full of ink, you need to put some more ink in it. Like get it to be a little bit fuller. So you might want to, instead of just doing a load ink, you might want to pull it off, use a syringe, and just pull some ink in there just to fill it up a little bit more, just so it has a larger volume of ink that's kind of sitting right above the print head. I hope that makes sense. So California DTF, you say, I'd like my setup to be simple. Can I just use Neostampa? Are you referring to like the halftone stuff, like editing like editing the images? Neostampa is a great rip. Digital Factory is a great rip. They all offer some kind of image editing functions, and I don't like them, mostly because they're rip softwares. Photoshop is an editing software. Illustrator is an editing software. That's what they're designed for. So I'm not a big fan of using the editing functions in rip softwares. That's just me. Some people might like it. I'm just not a big fan. Cyans are grainy. Okay, here's why. Because even though cyan is a color that's in the ink, the gamut, the color gamut, the colors that are the most far away from what we visibly can see or what RGB, like Adobe RGB, can output, the teals and greens and cyans, like blues, those kind of colors, are the furthest away from what the CMYK color gamut's capable of. So a lot of the reason it's grainy is because it's trying to produce a color that it cannot actually do. So graininess comes from a couple of things. One is sometimes alignment's out, but it often comes from trying to print a color that it's not capable of. And so what the result looks like is graininess, because it's like, I'm trying, I can't quite do it. So that can sometimes be helped by using some oversaturation to get a little more ink involved, but then it can kind of change the color. So you might try some different cyans to see if they print better, but that is common. And graininess in cyan is a very, very common issue. And it's not just because of alignment. Sometimes you just color outside of what's capable. This will be a case where if that's a color you need to print all the time, an extended color gamut printer might help you out in that situation. Okay, I currently powder DTF by hand. Many times after applying the powder and running it through the conveyor, I have powder that isn't fully cured. What do you recommend to solve the issue? Slow down the conveyor. When you are making your transfer, when you turn off this so you can see. When you hand powder, you kind of pour the powder on there, kind of roll it back and forth, and then you let it fall off. Are you flicking it? And I don't mean like that. No, I want you to like actually flick it pretty good, because those areas that aren't cured might be a little bit thicker adhesive powder. So I want you to flick it pretty hard to knock that excess powder off, and then slow down your conveyor. If it's a conveyor type dryer, you want to slow it down. If it's a dryer where you just put it in there, you need to physically move your transfer around a little bit. Otherwise, it'll have some cold pockets and won't cure as good. And literally under curing is so easy to fix. Stick it back in there for longer or a little bit hotter temp. You want to be at a good temp, like 240 Fahrenheit, which I think is like 110 Celsius, something like that. A low temp for like a good 2 minutes. That's kind of the best scenario, I think, for that. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. But yeah, undercure, way easier to fix. When will your machine be shipped? Been asked for a month now. I don't know, Carlos. Reach out to customer service because I don't have any access to that side of the business. I do all the technical stuff, like working on the machines, testing new machines. But from the sales side, I do not know. I could not tell you. So call into our office. They would be happy to help you out. Ooh. Looks like we got a video topic for our next live stream. Danielle, I will 100% do that. I will even grab some ink and we'll make a mess on my desk. I still have some blue on my hand from swapping out that machine. It got real messy. And FYI, if you ever pull a hose off of a barb connection, always cut it. Don't put it back on. I might know from personal experience from having blue ink leak all over the floor over the weekend. Luckily, it's water soluble. But yeah, if you ever like pull the barb end off, pull it off of a barb connection, cut a fresh part of the hose. So you just got to cut a little 1/4 inch off. Yeah, that was not fun on Monday morning. With rough surfaces like canvas or denim, should the temperature heat press be adjusted? No. Pressure maybe a little bit, but it's probably a thicker material, so it's already going to have increased pressure. But temperature, like canvas and denim, should be treated like cotton. I mean, denim is cotton. But you want to use like 300, 320, somewhere in that range. And then you might use a little more pressure. But again, the thicker material may already give you more pressure, because if it's a thicker fabric, it's going to create more pressure just because it's in that space, especially if you have like a manual heat press like that. But yeah, don't need to change any temp or anything like that, but it might need a little more pressure to get kind of embedded down in those nooks and crannies. Would you recommend for a smoother, more consistent adhesive layer? So Victor, did you post something? I think maybe you posted something on the Facebook group. Somebody was posting on the Facebook group the other day about their adhesive layer. They were trying to get a smooth adhesive layer. You don't want it smooth. You want it looking like an orange peel texture. I'd show you that one, but that one is, I've got a worn vintage texture on that. So let's see if I can get this to work. Capture, please. There it goes. Okay, I don't know. There, oh, yes. So see how it's got those little dimples? That is okay. That's actually what you want. You want those little dimples in there, those little rise and falls that looks like an orange peel. That is exactly the texture you want. That is perfect textbook DTF adhesive layer. And so when you hold it up to the light, you will see like little pinholes. That's not what it's going to look like when it presses. When it presses, it kind of squeezes, like pushes it all around. So you're not looking for a smooth texture. You want that orange peel texture. So, all right. Well, I think I got all the questions. Did I miss anyone? Bueller. Yeah, next week we'll play with some dampers, or next 2 weeks. Sorry, actually, let me double check the calendar. Is 2 weeks actually okay? Yeah, because it's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Let's go. It's my favorite time of the year, guys. I love Christmas, and November's just pre-Christmas, right? Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I answered some of your questions. Definitely, I need to make a few videos out of some of the stuff we covered here, especially the building ICC profiles with the X-Rite i1 profiler and Digital Factory. So, and lots of new stuff coming from our side of things. Like I said at Divulge, we're working on an extended color gamut. Right now, I'm just working on trying to get the drivers set up right and get the ICC profile dialed in, so it's chef's kiss. But yeah, when we have something going on that, I will let you guys know. As always, thank you again so much for watching. I appreciate you, especially to our folks that it's the middle of the night in Vietnam, Madagascar. First time. That's awesome. You guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Same bat time, same bat channel. See you there.